So what do you think, campers? 2 ulsters, kind of beat up, need to be dressed, cleaned, restored, fixed, handled, everything. Let's check it out. So what we have here is a nice Ulster electrician's knife. It's in good condition. The blades are pretty good. Just missing the handle. Everything else looks pretty good. Could do with a nice clean. And I thought, see this? Maybe you can put some fancy handles on it. Why? Well, I did something like this before with a Barlow. This guy, see that? Put a nice little handle on it. This one, this Barlow, was made by that company, you know, USA. As you can see, this wood, same sort of kind of thing, right? All different colors. Impregnated wood. Start a little collection with, I don't know, impregnated wood. That'll be a nice project. Then we got this guy. A nice little serpentine. Same thing. Pretty good condition. No handle. Kind of beat up a little bit. The blades, not perfect. And look at this clip. Ha! That's a true Texas one, right? What do they call him? Oh yeah, toothpick. And I found this ironwood. These were pieces I'd cut off another one to make another handle. They just happened to be kind of sort of the same size. And you know what? They're gonna fit. Woot! If you don't know about Ulster, well, here's some info. So, Ulster Knife Company. Yeah, I did my little look up and search, and wow, there is arguments and a lot of differences in what people say about the history of the company. Here's some of the highlights. Ulster Knife Company was a prolific knife maker in the late 19th and 20th centuries. In the early 1870s, a group of Sheffield immigrants began the Cooperative Knife Company in Ellenville, New York, Ulster County. That's where the name comes from. In 1876, a banker named Dwight Devine, or Devine, not sure about that, bought the company and changed the name to Ulster Knife Company. These knives, during that period when he bought it, are probably the most in demand ones. They say the quality is just better than any of the other ones they ever made. Here's something interesting. I did not know this, but Ulster, old timer. Yeah, they made the old timer knives. I'll put some pictures up here that I found, and I even found a catalog. So I'll just throw up some stuff when it becomes relevant. It has a long history. Like I said, 1871. It was renamed a couple of times. Dwight Devine bought it. He named it Ulster, a knife company. He combined it with Imperial Knife Company to create Imperial Associated Companies. And that's when they got into making knives for the military, just so that you know. Dwight Devine was killed in an automobile accident, and his sons in 1923 took over the company. And they started another line, just Boy Scouts of America knives. And very popular, very well known for that. The merger with Imperial Knife in 1941, they became part of the Imperial Knife Associated Companies because Imperial was buying up a bunch of people. Now, here's some other information. They say here, I found this on you. Now, like I said, there's a lot of conflicting stuff out there. Who's right? Who knows, right? In 1943, Bayer went into partnership with Imperial to form Kingston Cutlery Co. And in 1945, Kingston formed Vulcan Safety Razor, acquired Schrade Cutlery, and renamed everything Schrade Walden. So Ulster became involved in all of that because they were part of the whole Schrade thing, which bought Imperial. So there you go. The tank stamps, I think there was 3 or 4 different tank stamps that they used. It started off with just his name on there, then it became Ulster, Ulster Knife Co., Ulster Knife USA, bunches of them. Trying to date them was so confusing. But I did find out more about these 2 little beasties here. This one, obviously an electrician's knife. Here's the info here. Just like all the electricians like this, was named the TL29. It came in like a couple of different versions. There was the TL29 electrician's knife, 2-blade spear point, screwdriver, wire scraper, brass center safety lock, and the handles they called Wonderwood, WONDA wood on the handles. Then they had another one which is the K29 electrician's knife, same as the other one was, except they used a mahogany grained plastic handle. So you can see that it came in like 2 versions, but I do have my own Wonderwood. So we're going to put that on there. Interestingly enough, how much did these knives cost? I think they were about $3. Pretty good bargain. I think I paid about $3 for this as it is. Missing some stuff, but hey. Then the interesting one is this little serpentine guy. I was just going through all my info on it here, and here's what I came up with. You can see it here on the screen, and here's more info. This was the number 580T 3-blade old timer. This is an old timer, I think, allegedly, because I looked through that whole catalog, and I believe the catalog was 1961, and I couldn't find any others that had 3 blades on it, the serpentine. They were all 2-blade, except the 580T old timer. So I suspect this is actually one of the old timers, which is pretty cool. You can see the picture here. I searched around. Good to know that they had the toothpick, they had a pen blade, and then that unusual, I want to say, if you look at the picture, it actually, here's the picture here. It looks like, this blade here looks like a spear point, a small spear point. So unusual, and I think this was originally an old timer. So we have our wood. I wish I had a little old timer thing. I don't think I have an old timer badge that we could put on there. Maybe we can do that later. But I thought that was very cool. These were selling for, I remember, they were a little bit more expensive, I believe, the old timers, and they were like $4. So there you go, a little history on Ulster. And like I said, it was kind of hard to look up. There was, with AI, basically they've been around for a long time, and they landed up being part of the Imperial Schrade whole thing. So there's that, like a lot of knife companies did. Let's go do these things. I'm kind of excited about it. It's been a while since I've done one. Okay, I trimmed the wood down and everything, so we can get it to match. Now we have to decide how we're going to do this. Looking at this guy, I think I want to use these pins to hold the wood. Although it does have 3 others, we'll have a look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pins out so we can move it around and whatever, and we can also mark the holes to match where the wood goes in and where we're going to drill those holes for everything to hold. So that's the plan with this guy. With this guy, it's a little bit more simple. I'm not even going to use pins. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to push this little pin out. It's a brass pin. We'll push it out, put the wood on, drill the holes, put it all together, and then we can clean it up. That's basically it. This. Now, what I'd like to do is clean them up first, all the way up to, say, before we use mothers. Once we're done, we'll clean them up with mothers. But we'll get the general cleanup done. Then we're going to mark all the holes and all that good stuff. So let's do that. Let's just clean the knives up, get them ready, and then we can start mounting the handles on. Okay, we'll start with this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pins out. Not that one, because that holds everything together. Just makes it a lot easier. We'll be able to move things around. We'll be able to clean them up reasonably well. And then when it comes to putting the wood on, we'll have access to the holes on either side. So I think I'll mount the wood before we even pin them back in. And then we can drill the holes through using these liners as the guide. So now we have it all apart here. We can now clean up everything. Clean up the springs. Are they the same size? So let's start cleaning them up. I did tape the tool and the blades. Was it necessary? Not really on this one. They're pretty dull. But I want to make sure that I keep doing that, whether I need to or not, just to form a habit. It's just safer, because otherwise you get a little complacent. So here we have it here. Let's start cleaning them up. I'll just go over them with some maybe 600, and then we'll go 1,000, 10,000, and we should be good. So here we are with 600, and we've got a nice good shine on it. The springs, very shiny, especially the inside. For some reason they were really shiny on the inside already. And all you're doing along the outsides of the spring is just cleaning them up, getting rid of any heavy rust. They don't really move much. The only part that moves is this. It'll bend a little bit, but you don't want it to have to work any harder than it does. So if you just clean up the edges. I don't think I'm going to do 10,000. I'm going to wait until we have everything together here. And right now, these all go in. like that. And you can see already it's starting to look nice, a lot nicer. So now what we want to do is we want to get these onto here. So we've got to get the holes lined up and all that good stuff. One of the reasons we took it apart the way we did. So we're going to do that now because we want to line up these holes. Mark the holes and we can drill them with a Dremel. That'll keep it nice and straight. Do the same thing on the other side. This side here, we'll do the same thing again. Once we have that, we'll mount them onto the liners, and then we can put it together. We can pin it together, allegedly. Once we have that, we can then clean up the edges here and make everything match. Mark them so you know which one goes where. So I'm looking for the size drill I want. And if you notice, this drill is just a wee diddly bigger than these holes. And that's what I want, because when I drill these holes and we start pinning, I don't want to put pressure on the wood and the pin splits the wood. So a little bit bigger won't hurt. A little tight. So after about 2 hours of trying to figure out what I did wrong, I discovered I drilled a hole slightly off center. I'm going to have to do some filling, I think. But fortunately, I have pieces. Get these pinned, glue it all together, let it set and start shaping it. Okay, well, while we let this set, we will work on this guy. A couple of things we got to do. We got to clean everything up, obviously, just like we did on the last one. The snap is pretty good on this. So what we'll do is we will clean it up. Obviously, when you clean it up, then we're going to just fix that one blade. We'll take all this off, make it shiny. I'm thinking about putting a pin, just because I don't want just the glue holding it. I'd like the pin to hold it as well, which means we have to take the pin out as well. Hopefully it won't be a big deal. While I was busy cleaning this up, I remembered somebody sent me, like old timer. What do you think? Right? Oh boy, we're in the pound seats now. Can't remember who did it, but thank you, whoever sent me these items. You know, my memory is not what it was. Nowhere near as good as it was yesterday. So here we are at 600 on this guy. And now I'm going to go to 1,000, maybe 1,500. And so here it is, 1,200 grit. Starting to shine up nicely. And I got the first piece measured out here. Do the other side. Okay, so here we are here. And here is the little guy, the old timer. Now I've started to just, I got the shape of the wood to match the handles. I haven't finished, I just started cleaning it up and getting it roughly close using a heavy sandpaper. Now I'm going to go to a lighter sandpaper and we're going to start just cleaning it up, making it nice and smooth. This guy. Yep, welcome to Second Chance George. I messed up. If you look here, can you see the block is lower than the liner? Oops. I'm going to get some sandpaper and sand some of this off and get some magic dust. If you've seen my channel before, what I call magic dust is I just sand this off, take the dust from it and mix it with the glue and then put it back on to fill holes. Now if you remember, I kind of messed up when I put the holes in for the handles, and I think that's half the problem. But when I glued it all together, I used my magic dust. I got some sanding from here, filled in around these pins. You can barely see it, and it hasn't even been cleaned up yet. So I think I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to build this up because this is going to get rounded off. And what I'm going to use is some magic dust and super glue. So here you can see I have some dust from this. So what I'm going to do now is just mix it with some super glue. We'll mix it together and we'll just build it up here and we'll leave it to dry. Super glue dries pretty quickly, but I like to leave it for as long as possible. The other reason is can't get the lid off. And this is all the super glue I have, so we're going to have to be real careful. It's going to poke a hole. No time to waste. We'll wait on that for a bit and work on this guy. I'm hoping that's enough. So I'm just going to use 80 grit and just work it by hand until we get a reasonably smooth edges. Round them off a little bit. Tape up the blades and then we'll work this. So if you look carefully, you can actually see the saw cuts on the wood, hopefully. And I want to reduce those as much as possible. The other thing that you've got to work on is a smooth transition from your bolsters to the wood. So we're going to be working on that. Now 80 grit is really heavy grit, so I try to work the wood as much as possible without going onto the bolsters. Then I'm going to go to a higher grit, get them as close as I can to the actual metal, and then we go to a finer finish. And you can see. So that's where we are now. It's with the 80. Now we've got to clean everything up. Got to get all this mess out here. Start smoothing everything out. Now I got rid of most of the saw cuts, but I don't want to go too much because it's going to get too thin. just takes some persistence. And although it doesn't look that great, if you wipe it off the cloth, you're going to really start to see the wood. The grain starting to come out now. While we're doing this, I want to show you something. You see I have all the blades open, okay? I want you to look at that. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is put this blade back to where it is. Now look. That is because we got two blades on the same spring. So you want to avoid doing that because it really puts a lot of tension on the spring. And you'll always find on any knife you find, an old one, if it has two blades or two tools on the same spring, typically that spring will be a little bit weaker than the others. So, because I've done cleaning up here, I'm going to put the blades away and take that tension off that spring. And now I have better access to the spring as well, and we're not putting it in any sort of tension. Keep that. And this was with 300, and you can see the wood is really showing its grain, and also all that scratching is disappearing. So I'm going to go to 1000 on everything again, and then I'm going to stop because I want to try something new. Da-na-na-na. I read a comment about wood and how he handles the handles. Pun. He puts super glue on the handles and lets it soak in. A very light, thin layer. And then he says you can really, it strengthens the wood and really polishes well. Morning, campers. So, here we are. Let me give you some more light. And you can see it here. I've shaped it to the basic shape. Now on the other side, I've started to do the more final shaping, and you can see it here. You can see how it slopes. It's more rounded. Still working on that. But I just look at how the wood is really starting to show up. Right? I'm just going to keep working at this. I need to get them to match. And then we've got to decide what we're going to do with preserving the handles. I'm going to go down to the local hardware store today. I really do want to try that idea of super glue, making the handle stronger and making it shine. Because I just don't know how I'm going to put it on. But we'll figure that out once we get the shape right. So I'm going to work on that right now. It means 300 sandpaper. So I really like the way this is going. Let's say hello to Mary. She's in for her inspection before anything gets done. Of course, she comes in for a morning drink, I think. Yeah. There we go. How my life is so complicated. Don't know why she drinks out of that. So let's get on with this thing. Okay, so I went to Aces the Place and I got two kinds of glue here. I got some super glue from Loctite and bonds everything from Gorilla. Says it's crystal clear. These guys I'm not sure about. Let's try them both. The problem I'm having is, how do you apply it? So I've got a piece of the, and I sanded it, of this impregnated wood. I'm going to try them both, so I'm going to split them in half here. I'll just line. So I'm going to put the Gorilla on quickly, allegedly, and try and spread it. I'm assuming it's going to soak in. Yeah, nothing's sacred here. Oh yeah, that's right. She can do what she likes because it's all hers. Just ask her. Kind of like this better. That's pretty thick. Let it sit and then let's play with it. Now this guy, when I was cleaning it off, we got a holy, and I want to fill in the back here. So we're going to do the whole magic dust thing. Whoever told me about this, whoever you are, I can't remember, say so in the comments. So I got this in a mail call, and I can't remember who. I believe it was Steve, but I'm not sure. And it's a hand sander. Okay. Now, I've used these before, and I wasn't very impressed because they were too bulky or whatever. But here it is here. Okay, and it has a Velcro attachment. And it came with a bunch of paper from about 80 all the way up to 3,000, I think. And I thought I'd try it out. And I got to tell you, kind of liking this because you see the length? I can do the whole length and I'm not going to get any divots. I'm doing a whole cover on it, and I'm getting rid of that stuff that I put on to fill the holes and gaps that I had. What I'll do, if I find it, it'll be in the products list or whatever it's called. I'll just add it to that. Not sure how that stuff works. And here you can see I filled in around the pin. And if you look, you can barely see where I filled in. Kind of liking the way this is working. Now I've noticed I've had this sitting here for a while. I actually took it outside and had a cup of coffee and set it in the sun. The Gorilla Glue, which is kind of applies a little thicker and squishier than the Loctite did. The Loctite's dry. This is still kind of sticky. So I'll leave it a little bit more before we test it. So here we are after using 80 grit. Still need to take a little bit off there. So I'll work that a little bit, and then I'm going to try a 1000 and stop there. It has been about 2 hours, actually longer than that. Here's the piece of wood. Now you can see one side's shinier than the other. That's not a problem with the glue. This here is these guys, Gorilla. The other one is the Loctite super glue. Now if you're wondering why one is shiny here and one is not, the Gorilla Glue is not set yet, and it's been, I'm not kidding, 3 hours. Then I read the instructions. They say it'll hold after 2 hours, but for it to properly cure, 24 hours. The super glue is cured. Now, I've used Gorilla Glue before, and I just made the same mistake as I made the first time I used it. They say you should dampen the surface. I didn't. Does that make a difference? Not really. I think it's more to do with, I don't know if it helps with the curing, but I'm not willing to wait 24 hours. This was dry in about 15 minutes. So I actually, I didn't spread it on you very well. And that's going to be an issue. We have to figure that out. You have to be careful putting it on. So anyway, what I did was I went over it with 80 just to kind of level it out, and then went to 800, 1000, 2000, and 3000. And you can see just how it shines. Not only that, it sinks into the wood. And it makes the wood hardier because it's hard. And I'm pretty sure if I use mothers on this, it will really shine. So, with that in mind, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put super glue on this. And let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, I can always take this off. And here goes nothing. Now, if I remember, we got to... Now I wiped this off and made sure it was clean. Now we got to make sure we get some sort of even coat. And that's the part that worries. That's the problem I'm having. I'm going to put more on. We might have to rehandle this. Well, it's 2 days later, and a lot has happened in those 2 days. I worked on this guy, okay? And you can see I've got the handle basically where I want it to be. If you saw, I did a little experiment. Even after 2 days, it still feels kind of tacky. So that's not going to work for me. The super glue actually works pretty good. Dried fairly quickly because I put a lot on, and it took a little bit longer than you'd expect super glue to do. And then I just gave it a quick polish. Now, I don't know if you can see the shine on it there. Now, there you can see it. But do you see the problem? Getting a smooth coat. Hopefully, whoever gave me that comment is watching, and they're going to let me know what I'm doing wrong. But I went ahead and worked on this guy. Okay. I didn't show it because I was doing 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You know how that goes. I went through the blades. I'd gone up to 10,000, and I hit the blades with the mothers. You can see it there. Very nice. Very nice. Put the super glue on here, and I had the same problem. So, I tried my best. I put a pretty thick coat on and let it dry. Then I took 80 grit sandpaper and sanded down as much as I could. And then I thought, okay, it looks okay. The only problem is it's uneven, and you can see it. And I'm thinking, if I put a second coat on, I'm going to have to repeat the whole process again, and hopefully that'll take care of it. It's a lot of work to try and get all those dings out. And I thought, okay, while I'm here, it actually shined up pretty good. Then I thought, I wonder if mothers would make it shine more. And here you can see it here. Now, it actually, I haven't cleaned it off, but let me wipe it off a little bit. Here you can see it here. Okay. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? If I can get this surface smooth, it'll make some wood handles look very nice. But the problem is, that one's not too bad. That one is, look at that. And that is because I couldn't spread it properly. I don't know what to use to spread it. I think I'm going to put a second coat on here and see if that helps. But I can tell you that whole super glue idea, The wood feels a lot harder, and you can really shine it up. Look at that. That's the good news. Now for the bad news. I messed up. This guy. Very cool, right? Everything looks great. Blade closed perfectly, except that. See there? Tip of the blade sticking out. I got the tool, dropped the tool in. Oops. Can you see the tool? Actually, it is so far down you can't even get to the nail nick. The tools are in the correct positions because I never took this apart. Here. I did take these two pins out. Guess what they hold? The springs. I'm going to try and show you something here. Okay, I've got the tool out and I want to show you something, and I'm hoping you can see it. If you look in there, if you look at the springs, can you see it? If I do that, look there. Right there. See that? That spring has like a little bump on it that was left in on the spring, not on the other one. Guess what spring that is? I put it on the blade, and that is why the tool drops too deep. I've got to take these two pins out so I can get those springs out, switch them over, and put it all back together again. Hopefully, without damaging anything. Repinning this handle, we'll see. So what I'm going to do is this guy, and by the way, look at the, it really does bring out the color of the wood on this. I'm going to put the second coat on here of super glue. Try and get it reasonably even and filled in, and let that sit and dry. While that happens, take this guy apart. Okay, so I have cleaned everything up with alcohol, got it all clean. Now if you're wondering why I have this guy, which is that Barlow that I used, the same wood, I'm going to try something with this, some acrylic, which hardens. I'm going to try it on here and see how that does as well. Let's let that guy dry. Well, here we are, back to where we were. And you know what, I haven't even tried it out because I've got super glue all over me. I didn't put gloves on. Not very smart. So let's see if we can actually see if that made a difference. The lock works pretty good. You ready? Oh, we got to clean that up. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's what that little knobby was for. Now you can see the nail nick. But it's really tight in there. The blade's tight, it's not the nail. I got my nail in there, but I'm going to break it. Yeah, broke my nail. Okay. We're back at it again. If you remember this guy, I put another layer of super glue on it and try to get it as smooth as I could. This is what it looks like when it dried. Can you see that? It looks dull. Got this white marks on it, which I thought was a reaction to the mothers that I'd used before. But it isn't, because I sanded down the other side, started with 80 because I had that same issue again where it's not perfectly smooth. Super glue down, I couldn't get it smooth with the brush. And I think I figured out how to do that. Don't use a brush, use maybe a foam thing, where I can just put the glue on and then swipe it once all the way across. The problem is I'm getting it wavy with it. But then I had to sand it down again, starting with 80 just to get as much as the unevenness off, and then 300, 1000, 2000, 3000, and then mothers. And here's what it looks like. Okay, you can still see it's rough. It's not rough. It feels very smooth. Okay, and it's got that nice shine to it. I like this. I really like this. Even with the hit and misses, it's really nice. I like this result. It really makes the wood look extremely hard. Feels hard and smooth. Remember this guy? I said I would spray it with acrylic. I put 2 coats on. Here you can see it here. And all I did after putting the 2 coats on was mothers. It's not bad. It's quicker. Takes a little longer to dry, not that much longer, but it doesn't shine up as well. And it doesn't feel as smooth and hard as this does. And now this guy. We have it back together. I haven't checked. I did close the blades, didn't look at them, but the good news is there's the nail neck. It works correctly now. So I definitely put the wrong spring behind the wrong tool. So pay attention to that. I've never seen that before. It's actually built into the spring. Very cool. 3000 with this. Now I just got to clean it off. And I think I'm going to go with super glue. I just got to find me some a foam. A piece of foam that I can use to spread the glue. And if I have to, you know, put 2 or 3 coats on it. Got me a piece of foam stuff. And I'm hoping I can spread it fairly even. Very cool. Let's finish it up. Now, I really like this. I've still got to figure out how to get rid of those little ripples and things. And I put 2 coats on here, one after the other, as soon as they dried, hoping to get past those ripples. But I'm thinking if I put enough coats on, I'm eventually, you know, if I use the 80 a little bit more than I did, I could get really down into the super glue without getting down to the wood, because I really like the way this looks. It almost looks like marble, right? So now we have to sharpen, clean up the point here. A little rough, but it'll work. So there you are. Quite a journey. Learned a lot. Again, 3/4 of the problems, well, they were me. So let's have a look, see what we got here. I showed you this guy, which is a Barlow actually just from that company that everybody knows, the USA. And I had rehandled it with some impregnated wood. You can see it there. And it's kind of hard to see the colors, but there's actually different colors. I can't remember what I did with the handle when I was done. I think I might just have oiled it. But after seeing that comment and everything, I thought I'm going to try some different things. So on this guy, I actually sprayed some acrylic. Now acrylic dries hard, obviously, and it's going to give some protection. And it actually worked. The best thing about it was when you spray it on, it's kind of bubbly, and then it settles. It kind of settles itself and smooths itself out, which makes for an easy cleanup. You can see it here. It's nice and shiny. Not quite the same as using super glue. Huh. Who would have thought, right? Here is the other ulster. This little folder, a Stockman. Like I said, when I looked into this guy, actually discovered that it's actually an old timer. Now, I didn't know that Ulster had been the ones making old timer, but allegedly that's who made them. And I have some old timer badges because they're more for a bigger knife. When I put it on there to look at it and maybe, clean out a space for it and put it mounted in there so that it's flush, it didn't look right. It was just too big. So I'm going to keep my eye on, see if I can find some of those smaller ones somewhere. And hopefully I'll find one. I can put it on here because, yep, this is actually the old timer. Learned something there. So there you go. And you can see, still fighting that cough, cold thingy. Not so much the cold, but the cough. And I'm getting a lot of... It works well, the super glue. It sinks into the wood, and you can really make it shine. You can see there. And what I'm talking about is you can see there. You see there? It's kind of lumpy. And the way to get around that, multiple coats. So you put a coat on, let it dry, put another coat on, let it dry. And then you can sand it down until you get it nice and smooth, because eventually you'll get past those rough things. So here it is here, and you can see it shines up great. Love this idea. And then, of course, I did it on this one. And here's where I figured out the multiple coats. Took me a while. And if you look, it's not quite as bad. And this was, I put 2 coats on. 2 pretty thick. Well, the first one was kind of thick. The second one, not as much. And I'm thinking I should just put 2 thick coats on. And you can see here that I got rid of, there was those scratch marks. There's some there, I saw it right there. See that? This one, this side, not quite as bad, but once again right there. So when you look at it, it's not noticeable. It feels smooth. It almost feels like stone or marble or whatever. It's really hard. I like that idea, and it's going to protect the wood. And it didn't affect the color. This cleaned up really nice. And now I have 2 ulsters with custom handles on them. Very cool. And of course, my big oops on putting the springs in wrong. I looked at the springs and did not notice that little lump on it. And of course, it made all the difference. I had to take it apart again, put it back together, but it worked out. And my pinning improves. So now I have a custom electrician knife from Ulster, which is very cool. I'm not sure what the handle was before. I'm kind of thinking it was a wood handle before, because I think that's what they did originally. They oiled it, so now getting the tool out is a lot easier. It was kind of stiff. It's got its, a pretty good snap back on there. This, no snap, but it's a lot smoother than it was, and I just oiled it. Originally, even trying to pull it out, it was really, really hard. So a little bit of oil works, and I had to adjust the lock on this, just a slight bend and that sort of thing. But the main thing was the handle we've discovered a cool thing. Thank you. And it cleaned up pretty good, so we're all good there. Long video, sorry about that. You know, I like to show the whole story. Things happen when you're doing this, and I prefer not to take them out. I like to leave it in because we all learn from that, and I know a lot of you guys watch the videos and go, I want to try that. You need to know what you're up against and what to look for. Do as I say, not as I do. As you can see, I did not pay attention to the springs, and to be honest, I didn't think there was a spring that has that little bump in it to fix them, you know, specially designed for the tool to keep it up. So there you go. You all be safe out there, especially with this stuff. When you're using super glue, please wear gloves. I got a little lazy on some parts, and I didn't put gloves on, and then I got super glue on my fingers. I didn't stick them together or anything, but it's kind of difficult to get off, so wear gloves with that. The other thing was, when you're putting that much super glue out there, ventilated area. It really gives off a strong smell. I don't know what it is. I don't know the chemical makeup of super glue, but it's pretty strong, so make sure you're in a ventilated area. Just saying. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back. Just a different project. I hadn't done a wood handle in a while, so I made up for that. I want to do some more leather work. You know, like I said, one of the members said that he was looking for a slip for his black cats. So I have them here. Can't remember who it was, and I can't find the comment. Yeah, I'm not very good with computers, and I come up with ideas. Okay, I got to keep that comment, and I put it somewhere, and I save it somewhere, and then I can never find it. Anywho, if that is you, let me know in the comments, or send me an email, and I'll get these off to you. And you know what? I'm getting a lot of questions about, are you going to sell your sheaths and slips? They custom made. I'll make them one at a time, maybe two at a time, like this. Takes me a long time. To just put them out there for sale would overwhelm me. I wouldn't be able to get the products out. So there's that. I'm thinking of, you know, offering it in ways that I don't get 500 requests or orders. Maybe in random videos, like the member videos, or in the regular videos where everybody watches. Maybe say, you know, I'll do a random three generated comments of people who are looking for slips, and then I can do 3. It's not going to overwhelm me. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Always appreciated. We'll see you again soon.